Remember, they're changing my voice. This video is about balance. There's a lot to consider when one considers neuroplasticity, okay, brain function. People talk about mindfulness. Well, what are you mindful of? You're mindful of being a skater, being a jock, being a nerd, being a social club person, being a ruthless corporate person. What are you mindful of? Being a hippie who has just controlled opposition? So none of those things are normal. They are culture specific and they don't allow for normal, especially in this day and age. Okay? Normal as in moral and clear minded, right? Level headed, having a good head on your shoulders. That's what normal truly is. For example, in The Simpsons, all those characters are weird. But in their context, one could argue, hey, they're normal. Okay? You're weird for expecting them to be moral and clear headed, clear minded, level headed. So, what is a balance? Is a balance being like some kind of new age hippie, okay, with some kind of ponytail, sitting cross legged, okay, with some spiritual guru teaching you? And you're like, that's an interesting way to look at it. No, that's weird. That is weird. Normal is something that you're not going to quite hear in my voice here, but you're going to hear certain aspects of it because they're changing my voice. Is normal the kind of square guy who, the sheriff roll up on me? Yeah, this is the first time. So, every other sheriff. So is normal the square guy saying, hi guys, it's a PowerPoint presentation. And that you see that's weird, right? It's nerdy, and nerd is foolish and contemptible. How could normal be foolish and contemptible? Okay, um, so we get that from the situation. All right, I'm gonna have to just stop the video here. All right, so here's part 2. It seems to be the same sheriff that showed up last time. You know, so all right. So now that you know that I'm telling the truth about that, here we go. All right. So what is a balance, right? A balance is being very okay. So when we think about what a balance is, let's talk about how people try to knock you off balance. To help you understand. Some people will say, "So what? I like it that way." And what are they really saying? They're saying that white supremacy backs them up, and if you make certain arguments that they're going to give you a hard time, right? And it's reminiscent of slave master psychology. We know this because of the associations in the movies, the associations in our personal lives, okay? That when certain types of white people, conservative, kind of looking, for example, certain kind of sticklers for the rule, people who remind you of a racist, say things like that, it's a subtle racist threat, okay? So if I'm talking like this, I'm going to say, okay, this is what normal is, ladies and gentlemen, and this is why we should all think about brain function. We should all think about the generational effect it has when you take on a culture that is specific instead of being normal. He goes, what do you mean? There's nothing wrong with my culture. Okay? You say, okay, whether or not you think that there's something wrong with your culture, could it possibly be that there's a way of existing that is greater than your culture? Okay? But quite often, that interruption would cause people to be quiet. It's similar to what happens when the sheriff's deputy rolled up. Okay, there was a subtle threat of interruption because I come here all the time, and no one knows what was said by the managers of the store, the people that come here. They're very much aware that I'm trying to get the message out, that I have certain bumper stickers and so on and so forth. So is it normal for me to have these bumper stickers? Okay, is it normal for me to argue that I'm the idea that Christ refers to? It's well within my religious rights. It's exactly how you behave when you argue that you're Christ that is the difference. But it's easy for them to use the signs that you're arguing that to try to take you to the psych ward or something. Okay, if you were to do that. And obviously, I'm doing it and I'm right about it, and I've proven it a million times over. And I've proven it on many channels now. I suggest the video on my Fumed Christ is Proven channel, or whatever that channel is. I'll put it in the comments for you to see why I'm right about that. Okay, I've actually proven that I'm fumed. I've proven that I'm stalked. And I've proven, okay, using the scriptures, that they're superimposing the idea of Christ in the story on the idea of the top martial arts. Remember, Psalm 18, Psalm 19, Psalm 24, Psalm 89, okay, 1 Samuel 17, Revelation 22, the root and offspring of David, a warrior king, okay, Moses, at the time, who was the leader at the time in the story, and he defends the Midianite women, I believe they're called. He kills the Egyptians. He splits the Red Sea, right? Abraham fought battles, okay, and so on and so forth. Okay, we see that it has to do with martial art conceptions, and I connected 1 Samuel 17 to Revelation 19, where Jesus comes back in the end, and in the same idea of waging a war for justice, you know, who, what, when, where, how, why, right? With the sharp double-edged sword of Scripture, which is really the spirit essence of Scripture. Okay, so I've proven these things. So my argument is actually normal, it's insightful, it's educational, it's uplifting, it's fair. So we see a fair and balanced approach. And this is overkilled by me saying, where's your viable counterargument? It's overkilled more by the expected response of the state that has a lot of highly political churches and mental health groups and government groups and military and police groups that put pressure on it to make the culture a certain way. And of course, the main pressure comes from the governing class groups that are very much responsible for forging these other groups and the other groups that maintain social control. Okay, so when all is said and done, I think it's obvious that balance, a true balance, and a true normal and moral state is actually being a reasonable person. It is extra highlighted by me being mixed because there's no racial preference. Okay, so God did the right thing, obviously, and obviously God always does the right thing when he chose me, because he said, this guy's the son of two doctors, and he's mulatto. He's part black, part white. His dad is black. Okay, because the white man has been getting over in the reproductive thing, right? Who has the porn industry, the strip clubs, and so on, the white Jews and the LGBT community, right? So it's not justice if the last righteous person ever, the top martial artist ever, so on and so forth, is white, Jewish, or LGBT. It's also not justice if they're Asian or Islander or other things, because this is something that is clearly an African position, okay? These guys were clearly the masters of hand-to-hand combat and the most spiritual of people. Okay, not to belittle anyone, but it is the fair and balanced argument, right? I'm part white, and white people have the money and the power in America more than black people. Okay, to say that black people aren't the top martial artists and the most spiritual people is just as absurd, if not more absurd, than saying white people don't have the money, okay, and they aren't the historical oppressors in this country. I mean, it is straightforward. The Lion King, the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, the Black Panther, which is in its own right a lion, a mountain lion of sorts, and is to be distinguished from the mountain lion, the cougar, and so on and so forth. But we see that connection there nonetheless. So that's part of what it means to be balanced. To not say, hey, I'm a skater, I'm not going to admit these things, I don't want them to get ahead. But it's like, calm down, calm down. Okay, you live in a very evil world where it's obvious that being a hero is the right thing to do. And there's all kinds of weird ideas superimposed on a hero. Even the Black Panther is depicted weird, in a weird way. We see, you know, Superman and Spider-Man and Braveheart and Bruce Lee and Chinese Connection and on and on and on. Okay, so it's crystal clear that the way to truly be proud of yourself and your family and your culture is to be a hero. Crystal clear. Couldn't be more clear. Okay, a bunch of people in the news pretend to be heroes, a bunch of events that seem staged, whether they're not are not. I'm not saying that these shootings don't occur. I believe they do. But I do believe that they plant people there in anticipation of the shooting to tackle the shooter and to act like they're a hero and to represent for their group. And I do believe that most people perceive it to be this way. Okay? And that is a normal, fair, and balanced response. And I'm in a fairly balanced state of mind, but it's not really balanced because I am being covertly poisoned and my brain is being hacked, and I have to fight harder for that state of mind. Okay? And doing martial arts and, having literal mind, body, soul, spirit balance. Okay, and coordinating these three things to outmaneuver everyone. I was the most, and I will always be the person who was the most balanced. And even now, it's overkill by the sabotage that has occurred and is occurring even now, that I have overcome and transcended to maintain the master path while no one else is. Thank you.